Hi everyone, it's Lindy on here from Pink Whisper Designs. Today I thought we'd make a fun little congratulations on your new home card. So let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to start with this adorable little stamp set from Fawn. We're going to be using the trees, the fence, the house, the birds, the little smoke coming out of the chimney, and those couple of sentiments on the bottom. And this is the Happy Village stamp and die set. Now I'm going to be doing my stamping with the VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and I'm stamping on the Strathmore Bristol Smooth 100-pound cardstock. And the next set we're going to be using is the Bicycle Built for You, and we're going to grab that little puppy. And later on you'll see that I go back and I grab some flowers from that set as well. So I'm going to go ahead and tape all of the dies to these stamped images with a little bit of purple tape, and I'm running these through my Sizzix Sidekick machine. So I went ahead and die cut all of those. Now for this little house, I decided to stamp it again because I want to make it look a little bit more three-dimensional. So we're going to stamp that one more time, only we're not going to die cut that out. We're going to be cutting out a section of that a little bit later. So now we have everything cut. We're going to use green, May green, and yellow to color in all of our trees. And I'm going to color them all the same exact way, with a little bit of yellow at the top, the lighter green, and then the darker green. These are the Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens, and I'm using my Zig blender pen to blend these colors together. And these are a water-based marker. You can also use a water brush to do your blending here as well. If you get a little too much color, you can just clean it off on your scrap paper and then continuing coloring. Now with the mid brown, I'm going to do the trunks of the trees. And when you're changing colors, you also want to clean that blender pen. And to do that, you just scribble it on your scrap paper until it goes clear. And I'm going to leave the right side of these trees a little bit lighter. Now with the light gray, I'm just going down just the sides of each of these little fence posts here. The first little puppy, I'm going to use light pink, gray, brown, and beige. And I'm putting pink on both of their cheeks. And then I'm going to start with that lighter brown here. And then I'm coming in with the darker brown just to add a little bit of shadow here. And then I'm going to blend those together. I am going to leave his face a little bit lighter and the center of his body a little bit lighter here. So I'm pulling down from the top and up from the bottom. And you can always go back in and add a little bit more shadowing if you want to. Now for the other little puppy, I'm going to use light gray and mid gray, and I colored this in the exact same way. So now we have those two all set. With dark gray and wine red, I'm going to color in this little house. And I want to color in just this front middle section here of the house because we're going to be cutting that out and popping it up on the other house there. I want to give it more of a three-dimensional look. So I'm going to go ahead and color this little section in first. And again, I'm bringing that color up towards the center. So I put the red down first, then I put a little bit of the gray over the top of that. And then I'm just blending those two together. I just want to mute out that red a little bit with that dark gray, and also to create a little bit more of a shadow there. I'm using the gray on everything else here, the door, the little porch, and on the roof line as well. And if you want to add a little bit more depth, you can go back and add a little bit more of that gray, and then I'm pulling it up towards the tip there, up towards the top of the roof. Now I'm going to take the lemon yellow, and I'm going to go ahead and color in the windows here. So now I'm going to do the rest of the house the exact same way. Starting with the red, adding a little bit of that gray, just for that shadow there, and then pulling it towards the center. And you can see that if I get too much color, I continue to clean that brush off on my scrap paper. And there I'm just picking up some color. So you can remove color as well. And then here I'm going to add a little bit of shadowing kind of on the edges of the roof and then along that peak of the front part of the house there. And just kind of leave that center area the lightest. And again, going back in with a little bit of that gray again, just to add a little more shadow there along that peak line. So now that those are all set, I have everything colored in, all of my little trees, my little puppies. And for that little smoke coming out of the chimney, I just added a little light gray there. So everything's all set. Now with going back, as I mentioned before, to the Bicycle Built for You set, I'm going to stamp 5 little clusters of these flowers. And again, I'm using the VersaFine Onyx Black ink. And then with yellow and scarlet red, I'm going to color all of these in the exact same way. I'm adding a little bit of that scarlet red to the centers. And then with my blender pen, I'm just going to pull that color out from the center, out towards the edges, leaving the tips of the flowers the lightest. And then with a white Jelly Roll gel pen, I'm just going to add a little white dot to the center of these flowers. And you can see those are all set. Now I'm going to take this frame. This is a stitched hillside backdrop. This is the landscape version. And with my Bristol Smooth cardstock, I'm going to die cut 2 of these. I'm running these through my Spellbinders Platinum 6 machine. And I'm going to set one of those aside. We're going to be coloring in this first one here. And I'm adding a little bit of purple tape right along that grass line there. And that's just to block it off while we do some coloring here. So with the Mowed Lawn Distress Oxide inks from Tim Holtz, I'm going to be adding that lighter shade of Mowed Lawn all over this lower section here. So I just went ahead and applied a nice even light coating of that all over this bottom section. And then to add a little bit of shadowing, I'm going to go to the Lucky Clover Distress Oxide ink and just add some shadowing here. Along the bottom. And then I'm also going to tuck some color in here. But I want to get it lined up properly. So that piece we cut out of the top, I'm going to use that here on the bottom just to block off some of this. You can see that it lines up. And you can just put it in place there and use that as a mask while you do a little bit of shadowing along that line. And then just slide it over a little bit and that'll just mask things off. And now I'm going back to the lighter color and I'm just going to blend that out. Now I'm going to take that Lucky Clover and just put a little bit on my glass media mat. I'm going to spritz that with a little bit of water from my Distress sprayer. And with a paintbrush, I'm just going to spatter that lower section. Now I do want to mask it off from the top section again because I want to make sure that I don't get any of that green ink up above because that's going to be our sky later on. So I'm going to go ahead and spatter this lower area with that Lucky Clover ink. And that's just going to add a little bit more interest and texture here to the grass. So now I can remove that mask and I'm going to quickly heat set that. So now I went ahead and cut a piece of cardstock 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 so it will fit behind that frame. And I'm going to stencil this with my cloudy stencil from Fawn. I'm going to be using my broken china ink. This is a distress oxide again, and my little sponge dauber. And I'm going to be using the dauber because it's easier sometimes just to use the dauber because you could go up just a little way on the cloud. You don't want to go all the way up. And with the full-size applicator, sometimes you get a little bit too much ink. You could also use your Picket Fence Studio brushes as well here. Those would be really nice. But I chose to use my little dauber, and I'm just going to apply that color all the way down here. Just turning the stencil and using all 4 sides of the stencil until I get towards the bottom. And I won't need to go all the way down because that frame, the grassy border on our frame is going to cover a little bit of that lower area. And you can see that there. Now for the frame, I want those clouds to match the frame as well. So I'm just going to tape this down with a little bit of purple tape. And then I'm just going to line that stencil back up so I can apply those clouds along this frame portion. So it all looks like it runs together here. So you can see I can easily line up that stencil and just put those clouds in place here. So now I do want to have a sentiment up at the top here. So I'm going to take these 2 panels and put them in my Misty stamp positioner. And I want to keep that frame in here for now, just so I can see where that sentiment needs to be. So I'm going to grab the first part of the sentiment here, and this says, "Congrats on your new home," and I'm centering it just below the edge of the frame there. Just going to close the door on the Misty and pick up that stamp. And then again, I'm going to be removing that frame. We don't need that now, and I can go ahead and ink this up with the VersaFine Onyx Black ink and stamp this. Now I can start to assemble this frame. So I had die cut 2. The second one is just to give this a little bit more substance. So I'm just going to glue those 2 together. That's just going to make this a little bit thicker. And then I'm using my bone folder just to press that out. And now I can go ahead and attach this to my card. But the first thing I want to do, I know that I want one of the trees, one of the little clusters of flowers tucked in this little border here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that first. So think of that. If you want to tuck anything in this little border here, it's best to do it before you've done the assembly. Although you can still do it after. I find it a little easier to do it first. Now I can go ahead and apply my glue, but I am going to avoid the tops of those grassy borders just in case I want to tuck anything else in there. So now I can go ahead and line that up and press that down. And again, I'm going to use my bone folder just to press that frame down. Now for that little house, I'm going to go ahead and cut out that front section, and I'm going to go right along those black lines there. Because we already have a white border all the way around the house, so I don't need to keep any of the white border. And then I'm going to pop this up. And you'll see here in a minute, that's going to give this a really cute 3-dimensional look. So you can see that there. So now I'm going to position the house up here at the top of this little grassy border. And I'm putting foam tape at the top. And then I'm just kind of trying to figure out where I want that to be. And now I'm going to add a little bit of glue down at the bottom here and position that down permanently. Now I'm going to add all these other little pieces here. And I am using the Lawn Fawn glue tube to glue everything down. And there will be a list of all the supplies I used today down at the bottom and also on my blog. And I have to tell you guys that my son just bought a brand new house, and it actually kind of looks like this. It's a Tudor style brick. I did do a second card in this where I did draw in the bricks on the house, the card that I'm going to be sending him. And but it's a cute little Tudor style house, and he's got his two little puppies. His little puppies are Toby and Brody, and so I thought I'd make them part of this little scene as well. So think of that when you're building these little scenes, because in that bicycle built for you, there's also a little kitten that you could also do, and there's that little girl on the bicycle, which would be cute as well. So just kind of what I love about stamping and all of this is that you can customize these exactly for the person that it's going to be going to. And that's what just makes it so much fun. And there I'm just adding that little bit of smoke to the chimney there. And now I can just add all these little trees in the background. So you can see that I still have a little room to tuck those in there. So you do want to consider that when you're gluing down that frame. Make sure you leave a little space there at the top of those grassy borders to tuck things in. So yeah, I'm so excited for him, and I can't wait to send him this card. I really hope he likes it. Now, I did want to put a little gift card inside. So this is the gift card pop-up die. And you could certainly skip this part if you don't want to do the gift card. But I'm going to run this through with my Strathmore Bristol Smooth paper again. And I'm using the same two inks for the grass that we used earlier. And I'm applying that light coating of the mowed lawn all over. And then I'm coming in with the Lucky Clover and just adding it kind of down here along this scallopy edge. And then I'm going to go ahead with that lighter one and blend those two out. Now, I didn't want the inside of this to be too boring, so I did stamp and die cut some additional trees and another little cluster of flowers to attach to the inside here, and I'll show you that in a second. Now, I'm going to go ahead and spatter just exactly the same way we did before, just spritzing this Lucky Clover ink with a little bit of water and then spattering this panel. I did set that aside to dry. You could use your heat tool as well. And I've got a standard A2 size card. This measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Now, because I am putting the gift card right down the center there, I did want to bring that beautiful cloudy sky to the inside of the card as well. So I'm going to do the same exact thing we did before and create that cloudy background. And I'm going to do this all the way down to the score line there. I'm just going to go halfway down. And you can see that I have that all set. So now we can go ahead and assemble this, and basically you just want to fold this little gift card holder in half and use your bone folder to press it out nicely. Now I did use a 100-pound cardstock. And there's a score line here as well that you're going to just push that towards you. And there's one on the other side as well. And then use your bone folder just to press that out. Now, in retrospect, I might have used a lighter weight cardstock here. Probably an 80-pound might be a little bit better. This was a little stiff. So you see me just kind of manipulating that paper just so I can fold it back. But it worked out fine in the end, but if you're doing this at home, you may just want to use a little bit lighter weight cardstock here. It'll be less bulky down in the middle here. So now once I have that all folded, I'm going to add my 1/4 inch double-sided tape down both sides. So you want to run it right along that score line there. And it fits perfectly in between the scallops and the score line. And then I'm going to flip it around and do the same exact thing for the other side. I'm going to remove the backing on both sides of the tape. Now, if you prefer, you can put one side of this down at a time, but I like to do it this way. What I do is fold it in half, and then I'm going to line up the center right along that score line. Make sure that's tacked down, and then do the other side as well. So I'm just checking to make sure I'm right along that score line. And then just grab your bone folder and press that out. Now you have this cute little gift card pocket right in the center here. So I'm folding the card and just pressing that out with my bone folder. So now my little gift card is going to fit right in that little pocket. So as I mentioned before, I went ahead and I die cut colored one large tree, two small ones, and then a little cluster of flowers for the inside of the card as well. I just wanted to finish the inside. And you want to only glue these about halfway down the trees because they are going to be sticking up over the top. So you don't want glue on the top of the tree there. Then I'm just going to add another little cluster of flowers here. And I'm not popping anything up because I don't want to create any more bulk inside the card. So you can see that there. So now I'm going to grab the other sentiment, and this is for the inside of the card. And to do this sentiment, you can see that with that gift card holder already in place, I really can't put it in my Misty stamp positioner. So I'm going to put a little bit of tape down there on my mini precision press. This is by We Are Memory Keepers. And you'll see how easily I can pop that sentiment in here using a stamp positioner. And as I said before, you wouldn't be able to put this in your Misty at this point because it's too bulky. So this works perfectly. So if you have this where you've already assembled something, this is a great little tool to be able to tuck it right inside your card. Now you could have stamped this sentiment first, but I didn't think of it. So I'm going to be using this, and I'm going to just line those little pegs. This is a peg alignment system. So I'm lining up the pegs with that little lid, and then I'm pressing it down. And if I need to stamp it again, I can do that as well. So now that we have the sentiment in place, I can go ahead and add this to my card. Again, I'm going back to my 1/4 inch double-sided tape. I'm just lining the front of the card up with the table here and then positioning it down. Just make sure you have it going the right direction when you do that. So now with my Jelly Roll white gel pen, I'm going to add some highlights to all of these little items here. And this just adds a little bit more interest to the card. And don't worry about where you add these highlights. Anywhere is fine. Again, it's just adding a little bit more interest here. And I'm going to do this on the inside of the card as well. Now with my Nuvo shimmer pen, I'm going to go ahead and add some sparkle just to that little smoke and then along those little fence posts as well. And a little bit in the windows. Now I did want to add a couple of birds. So I'm going back to that set and I'm grabbing those two little birds. I'm putting 2 on the front of the card and 2 on the inside. I just thought the sky was just a little bit too plain. So now you can see our completed card. And I just hope he loves this card. I had so much fun making it. And I love the little dimension that we added to the house as well. And then on the inside we have that cute little gift card holder. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget to visit me at pinkwhisperdesigns.com. And I hope you're all staying happy and healthy. And I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.